Welcome back to another episode of the Money Mindset and Manicures podcast. And do I have a treat for you, babes, today? This has been a highly requested episode, and I have my first interview on the podcast today, and it is with my fiance, Mark Gustafson. Yay. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you. Very excited. A little nervous.
Yes, we are diving deep into the juiciness of all the questions that you ladies have submitted on my personal Instagram account and also inside our Maniscripting Sisterhood community. So I have a list of questions that I'm going to ask Mark and myself basically, and we're going to go through and answer them. We're diving into everything as far as relationship goes, business goes, how to work together in business, how we met, so many things. So if this is the episode you've been waiting for, keep on listening because we're going to go deep. We're going to go raw and honest too. This is going to be super
unfiltered, unrehearsed. Yes. I have no idea what to expect. These are not pre-planned answers.
Nope, I literally pulled them from social media, put them in a PDF, printed them out, and here we are right now. So let's get started with the
And this is two-way, correct?
Yeah,
it's not just all to me.
No. This is both of us
okay,
diving
wonderful.
in. The first question is how did you and Mark meet? You guys are so perfect together. And that question was submitted anonymously on Instagram. So thank you so much. How did we meet?
How did we meet?
Because I love the way that you tell
love the way I tell the
Mm-hmm.
story. All right. And this is the unfiltered, raw version of life. Well, we met at Equinox in Santa Monica. And I've been a regular gym goer most of my life. And I don't often or ever see the gym as a place to meet girls, especially there. I'm there to do the work. And I was at this phase of life, I was going very, very early in the morning. I'm talking like getting there at 5:15 and not a lot of young women at the gym that time of day. This is the same kind of group of guys. And suddenly one day, kind of as I was getting ready to leave every day, still very, very early, 6 something in the morning, this like goddess started coming in, like baseball cap and a sports bra, just like ready to work, but like tunnel vision. I was like, dang, who is that? And that's not really the best time of day to approach somebody. I was like, there's something magical about her. Not just her like looks, but just something called me to this woman. And at the time I was always rushing off to be somewhere, and I would like slowly kind of like, I usually be stretching when she got to the gym, but instead I wanted to be like doing my last hard set. So I was starting to be late because I'd always like wait till she like walked in and I was doing something really hard and aggressive. And to this day, I don't think she remembers any of it.
No, I don't. I don't even notice it because I was that tunnel vision going in, like literally baseball cap on, not making eye contact with everyone.
I think you were just asleep.
Maybe. It was very early.
And I thought she was, from what I heard from one of the other guys, in the locker room after, because she was definitely noticed and talked about. Thought she was some like Middle Eastern, recently to LA. Had no idea who she was or her background. Fast forward a little bit, I don't drag it on too much. It was on the weekends, I'd go a little later, and I think Samantha would sometimes go a little later.
Equinox was very much a social club on the weekends where everyone just goes, kind of works out, hangs out, talks. It was a very like slow workout process on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, you just went later and you weren't in a rush to be somewhere. I wasn't slowly working out. I was working out harder than ever, for the record, on the weekends. One day I saw Samantha kind of doing her stretching, and I knew like her next move was the squat rack. And there's only like one decent squat rack there, and I was using it. So I'm like, I'm going to slow play being on a squat rack. Wait till she needs it. Here's my intro. Yeah. And I think this was the second time in my entire life I strategically ever talked to someone else at the gym. And the other time it was like one time, and I was like, oh my God, you're stupid, and I want nothing to do with you. Anyway, so she came over and I did this like, oh, you need the squat rack? I'm like, oh, give me one. And then like, give me my intro to like talk to her. Gets a little gray after this. We started to kind of see each other. I think I said hi. I think she'd be on the Saturdays. I'd see her. Yeah. Eventually, I think we exchanged Instagrams. I was trying to get you to go to like a running class Equinox had. Yeah. And then the magic happened. And this time I kind of knew what she was and what she did. And I thought she was more of just a model because that's what her Instagram kind of portrayed. And a buddy of mine was launching a company, and they had a very highly funded. They had this big photo shoot, whole weekend planned. And he's called me like, bro, I need some like really good looking models. Like ones we hired have no idea what they're doing. This was like a Friday. And I was like, light bulb, excuse to like reach out to Samantha. And so I message her, and she's like grinding me on the price. I'm messaging my buddy like, bro, just pay it. I'll split the difference. Like, you got to bring this girl. So sure enough, 2 days later, or a day later, whatever it was, the next day, it was about an hour and a half north of LA in Santa Barbara. And I'm in the car with her, and like, it's like within hours or minutes, or I don't know, that day at some point, up to this point, I wasn't not looking for a relationship at all. Last thing in the world I wanted was a relationship. All of this strategy towards Samantha was a very boyish desire for a notch on the belt, as I normally say. And I got in the car, and she realized, holy shit, she is awesome, smart, and like totally someone worth dating. And I was personally in no place to start a serious relationship. And if I tried with her, I knew it wasn't going to work. So the day went great. We hung out. I think we like bonded over being complete fat asses after the shoot and ordering everything on the menu. And I remember texting her that night when I got home, like I got like a pint of ice cream and some like Snickers bars. I'm like, look how fat I am. It's cool.
I know. I was always getting booked for these photo shoots because I was a fitness model.
And we had her come do this thing.
And like Mark knows a lot of people at lots of different companies, including his own. So he was always just like trying to like
find a reason
to hang out, connect. And I was looking at Mark as like, okay, he hasn't asked me out yet to dinner. He keeps inviting me to all these different business things. And now at this point, I'm like, okay, you know how you put someone in the friend zone? Where I didn't put Mark in the friend zone. I've just put him in the business zone. I'm like, I'm just going to continue making money with this guy because he's obviously not into me. Because even for me, it was so rare. Like, I'm just being honest about this. Like, guys would always ask me out in LA, right? Whenever we would start hanging out a little bit or just meeting, like it was very rare for a guy to have interest in me and not ask me out. So I just thought, okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep making money with this guy and we'll see where it goes. So that's kind of where
But here's where the controversy is, because somewhere in the middle of that phase we're discussing, she was over.
This is months.
Almost
now.
Lots of months. In this whole period, 6 months, 9 months, almost a year. You were over at my building. We did a photo shoot.
Yes.
And my friend was leaving. He made some comments about us flirting. And we were both like, oh, whatever. Really good. And that was just us. And I said, hey, like, want to go get some lunch afterwards. So this was like my first attempt. All right, my life's starting to get a little more stable. Maybe I think, let me like kind of half ask Samantha out. Not on a date, but like, hey, you're here. And she's like, oh, I'm busy. I can't.
Want to know why though? I said no. Because I'm a high value woman and I'm not going to lunch with you. You want to take me out and you be serious. And this has been him obviously slow playing it. And I didn't know that. And you're going to ask me out to lunch the first time. It's a nobody. Like, step it up, ask me to dinner, take me out, pick me up. Like, I knew my worth at that point. So that's why you got denied. And Mark thought that I just wasn't.
So that was my like, all right, well, I'm keeping her in the business box. I'm going to stop trying, I guess. And then time went on and a few more of these business things. And at this point, I didn't think Samantha had interest. And as hard as my ego was to take that, I was all right with it. But maybe one day, you know,
finally, like where it just kind of quote unquote, like almost sealed the deal. But when Mark and I like truly expressed interest in each other, we were sitting at a booth in the bar. And at this point, Mark had, apart from like giving me hugs when we met and left, like he never made a move. And we were sitting at the bar booth table and he just put his hands on my leg.
That's all you need.
And it was game over. Like that was like my hint. Like, I don't know, like we were both very much into each other. I had so much fun with him that day. The first day of just talking, no business. It was strictly fun. And then from there, we literally just started like making out. And then
like teenagers. Like I'm sober. I don't even drink. And the bouncer's looking at me like, bro, like you're a grown adult. Like
go home. He's like, go home. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Guys.
And
then
it was just I don't know how much more from there.
And then we did go home, and the rest is history. We've literally been together pretty much like ever since.
Yeah.
No
like
questions.
It was like instantaneous, like maybe a week of like, okay, when we went to dinner.
Yes. Then you took me out on
went on a proper first date.
Mm-hmm.
There was an earthquake during the dinner, like shocking, like massive earthquake. And we were pretty much just inseparable after that. Literally. Like we knew. Like you're old enough and you kind of like know, and you think you know, and then you don't know, and then and then so you're like, oh wow.
Yeah, it was really
legitimately different.
Exactly. And it was so interesting because with this relationship, I never had a question in my mind. Like I never had to ask Mark, like, what are we? Or are we exclusive? Are you seeing other people? We never had that conversation. We just both knew how much we were both just in it and commit. It was wild. It was just like 100% meant to be in full alignment. And here we are now. What are we? 3, 4 years later? 4 years later?
At least 4.
Yeah. 4 years later.
4 years later from paddleboarding.
COVID made everything so blurry. But here we are 4 years later, engaged. I think getting married next year. We're going to figure that out. We've just been so busy. But that is how we met. And that's how it all went down. That's a good one.
That could be an hour podcast. That was like the hard way to like that the abbreviated version.
Right? But it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a good intro. It's a good one. It gives more context, I guess, probably.
It gives more context to the rest of everything else. Because the next question is from Linda L. from the Sisterhood community. And she asks, before you two met, were you both asking the universe for a new business partner or a new romance or both? Now, for me, I wasn't asking for a new business partner. I had been a solo entrepreneur my whole entire life. So I was like, fine with that. But as far as new romance goes, yes, because I'd been single at this point for like 5-6 years and just dating in LA. It was just like god awful. So actually the whole reason behind me starting to go to the gym early was my declaration to the universe. I need to shake things up. I need to change things up in my life, including my routine, because obviously the men that I was attracting weren't meshing with what I wanted. So literally I started going to the gym at 6 a.m. and then literally Mark, that same month I met him, and 6 months later we are together and dating. So that part worked for me. How about you?
Well, that's kind of a 2-part question. I'll start. Business partner? No. Opportunities? Absolutely. I was constantly looking for opportunities. I didn't had business partners.
Yeah.
But definitely seeking opportunities, and collaborate is not the right word, but doing deals with people, I guess.
Yeah.
And on the romance side, negative. I was at a point in life mentally where I was like, maybe, I'll just kind of never have a serious relationship again. Like I was in that kind of state of mind as a guy where you're like, maybe I'm just that guy who never is in a serious relationship. Turn me on that one.
And I didn't even turn you. It just happened naturally. No force happening here.
The moment that is, a lot of guys say that, and that's because they don't actually know what the potential is with the true partnership.
Exactly.
So a lot of guys, either they never have it or they get really bad breakups and then have a really big grudge against women. And they think being in a relationship is terrible. It's just because they haven't actually found the right one. And they'll reference Bob Think and Grow Rich. There's like a 3-part chapter on the whole part of having like a significant other to actually. So if you, as a guy, if you want to be rich, the most famous book of all time on how to get rich talks about the importance of having one singular significant other and the power that creates you as a man.
Next question. Do you two both just have the journal company, or do you do other stuff? And that one's anonymous from Instagram.
I do too many things and continually trying to do less and focus more on manuscripting, just because I think it has so much potential. So I hate the word serial entrepreneur, but like I have some ownership and very active roles in a couple other brands. It's been increasingly over the last couple of years. I always say like my time blocks. Now manuscripting definitely gets the bigger percentage, over 50% of my bandwidth. So I like to say it's still more than like 100% of most people's.
Yeah.
So
yes, definitely.
that's my side.
And then for me, right now, I'm recording this podcast. The Manicures Journal is 100%.
By choice, we did that. Lots of opportunities. And
yeah, we've had so many opportunities.
Say no to what could be money now versus money later.
Yes.
And we're like,
yeah,
no, you're all in on this deal.
100% all in on this. We really believe in having multiple sources of income, but also you got to focus on that first one first and make it super successful before adding in more, because we've definitely played the game of having multiple companies, multiple streams of income, but then your energy and focus is so diluted between all of them that it makes it really hard to scale any one of them. That was our decision over the past year for me to just fully go all in on Manicures Journal, say no to everything else, as hard as it is a lot of times, because we get invited and asked for a lot of different opportunities. But that's where we're at right now and really happy with it.
And that's what, from all the people I've talked to, everyone's like, oh, like Sam said, multiple streams of income, or you listen to these podcasts and these guys have like 18 different businesses. If you talk, even the ones that have 18 different businesses now, they were probably all in on one thing first, or all in on one thing, it failed, all in on the next thing. Like if I could personally do anything different on my entrepreneurial journey, it would have been pick the one thing, be 100% all in on it, eat top ramen and sleep on someone's couch until it works or fails, and then go all in again on the next thing till that works or fails. And then which one finally works, then consider having multiple things at the same time. Even to this day, I'm trying to do less things to make the few that we have work really well.
Yep, exactly. Couldn't agree more. All right, next question is, how was Mark instrumental in launching your journal? Oh my gosh.
I should have listened to this.
Mark was a huge part, push, and support in launching the journal, because at the time, COVID had just hit and I was still a business coach at the time. And if you have listened to one of my first or second podcast episodes, I talk all about how the journal came about, how we launched it. So I won't dive into all of that. But Mark was a huge part of it, because I got to a point with launching the journal, I had to stop doing all my coaching business. Basically, I had to put an end to it, because there was no way that I could focus on doing both at the same time. So we had to have the serious conversation. And we had just moved in like maybe 8 months prior, 6 months, no, 8.
You moved in right before COVID.
Yeah.
And we made the decision before COVID.
I think in January.
And then COVID hit.
Yes.
And now you're like, oh, you're like really living with me.
Yes. So it was such crazy timing of it all. But basically, we had just started living together. Our relationship was still fairly new. And I was giving up one of my biggest streams of income and basically saying to Mark, like, hey, I want to go all in on this. And he was like, you have to do this also. Like, he was 100% all in on this business and company as well. And I had to basically say like, hey, I'm not going to be making the same amount of money, obviously starting at zero. So are you okay with like carrying the household as I'm launching this business and company? And so that was a huge part, because if he had said no or wasn't able or whatever, I think it would have been, I don't know what would have happened, obviously, but I would have still had to run my coaching business for a few more quarters to be able to support financially through starting up the journal. So that was a huge part. Second part was starting a new company, especially an e-commerce business, when I'd never done it before at all. And being with Mark and him already having multiple e-commerce businesses in the past and understanding how to do it, that was huge. Because as soon as I told him the idea about the journal, he was like, oh my gosh, fuck yes, let's go. No. And I was like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, oh, I know. He's like, I know how to do this overseas. I know how to import. I know how to do this, that, and the other. Like, he was just the biggest support system and biggest part of it, because it just truly allowed me to fully go all in on already this goal and desire of launching the journal. Like, I knew this was meant to come to fruition, and then having the backing support of a partner to really support me through all the unknown was huge. So I think that's why it's so important to surround yourself with not only who you're in a relationship with, but even just like your friends and any other mentors and anything. Like, you need to have that support system, especially when you're starting something new. Because if I came to Mark, who I'm now living with, in love with, and told him this idea and he shit on it, I don't know if it would exist. I don't know. Like maybe it could, because I do have like this ego driven, like summer side. Like when I have an idea, I'm freaking doing it. But I also respect him and his businesses that he's created and built. So if like someone as experienced as him came to me, is like, this isn't a good idea, I don't know, and he would give me really good reasons, I don't know if it would exist, right? So I thank you, babe, because you were a huge part of me launching this company, and I maybe could have done it alone, but I
well, that's what I wanted to say. Hearing that is amazing, and I thank you for all that, and I hopefully did accelerate it. But to give you kudos, or someone listening is like, oh, well, Samantha had this guy that when she was in love and life was easy and she didn't have to worry, and like, first of all, it wasn't that easy and it wasn't that worry. It wasn't like it was all sunshine and rainbows either in life or financially. But you know, I think you, not to say what we did before, like if you had been all in on it, decided yourself alone, like you would have, you know, whether it's sleeping on a family member's couch and living off of bare bones and a credit card, like forget all these financial podcasts. If you believe in yourself, go get a credit card and go all in on your fucking business. I'm grateful that you're thankful for it, but I think you could have done it alone, and you can do it alone with the right people in your circles, or more importantly, eliminating the negative people that might bring you down. So
yes. And I've started multiple companies before this one, all alone, fully financially alone. And just like with what Mark said, like running on credit cards, debt, all of that, just to be able to launch, survive, and do all the things. So it is possible. It just felt really good for this one to finally have my person with me and have that support system. So thanks, babe. So good. All right, let's get into some juiciness, some more juiciness. It's all been juicy, but how do you manage a healthy work-life balance? How do you deal with disagreements and arguments? Do you guys have rules that you follow? That's from Rachel D. from the Manicures Sisterhood community. Balance doesn't exist. I hate the word because it doesn't exist. And I hate that everyone tries to strive to achieve this balance, because no matter what, where you put your focus, something else isn't going to get the focus. And that's okay. It's like being in these different seasons, ebbs and flows of life. And I never strive to be balanced, because it's not a thing. It's just made up thing. So with our work life lifestyle, we've set it up in a way where we just enjoy and love every part of the day and what we do.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, back to when we first met and why we hit it off so well, our personality type meshes really well. There's no right answer to this. Like as a partnership, even if you're running your own business, you might both be coming from a corporate world. You love the idea of clocking in at 9 and at 5 o'clock checking out. Like neither of us really ever had real jobs. We've always both hated the concept of ever having a real job. We've both always been very entrepreneurial. Some of the best work I've always done entrepreneurial my entire life has been like 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., even though I am a morning person. Samantha was the same way when we first started dating. She's like, I'm coming over. I'm like, I'm working. It'd be like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm like, she's just lying. And knowing her now, like she got into creative juices. So I think like, you know, work-life balance, we are the kind of people that sometimes Sundays are our best work days. Not like, oh, it's Sunday, you're supposed to relax and watch football. It's like, no, I'm flowing today, and I respect that. Or if I'm like, no, you know what? F it. I don't want to do it today, and it's my chill day, but you're in the zone to work. I'm not going to hold that against you. So I think, one, I don't think there needs to be work-life balance. I think it's just about doing everything in kind of synergy that makes you happy. My goal is to figure out how to have a nice healthy flow. So when I go on trips, I'm just like keeping moving the needle, but I'm not stressed out, or I don't need to check out and do nothing. But I think a lot of that, like if we had different core beliefs or just desires on that, that would be almost as important as people say in a relationship, talking about how you're going to raise your children or whatever. Like, because people, some very entrepreneurs I know are still very work-life balance. Other entrepreneurs I know, it's one big blend of how they live their life. And I think we are, before we even met, had the same personality trait
Mhm.
with that. And there's no right answer to
Yeah,
that.
it just works for us. Like, for example, even right now, we get up, we go to the gym together. Like, that's first thing in the morning. That's what we do. Then we come home, we do our meditating, journaling, kind of breakfast.
In our own times.
In our own times, yes.
Yeah, like,
and then like that's when we usually then after that we go into work mode from like late morning to early afternoon. We take a break with Milo. We'll kind of maybe sometimes go back into work, then have dinner together every night. We cook, not together usually, but either cook together, but we always eat dinner together. And then the rest of the night is just catch up, meditate again. And then we typically try to go to sleep together at the same time every night too.
And that doesn't always work that way. We've gone in phases where I was still getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym, and and vice versa. So it works in all ways, but the balance side of like we need to work. And then the disagreements and arguments, we have set rules that we follow. No, but I think personally, like as I was meeting Sam, I was really developing as a human being, and we've developed together as human beings. I'm just like, I hate disagreements and arguments.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one that I think a lot of people have, whether it's with their significant other, a friend, a random person they saw on the street, it's like you're playing that like argument through in your head. Like something happened, it started, like, oh, when I see Samantha, she's going to say this, I'm going to say that. Like learning is never let yourself do that is the biggest one. And I think we're both really good about the few and far between times that we have like a legitimate disagreement and one person gets really upset. We're both very quick to apologize.
Oh, we're so quick. We like literally can't stay mad at each other for more than like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not always truly apologizing.
Yeah,
I'm not apologizing for disagreeing.
Right.
I'll literally say, I still disagree with you.
Yes.
I'm apologizing for how I acted with disagreeing.
Yes.
We'll figure out the disagreement later.
Yeah.
But I'm apologizing for how I acted with the disagreement. I think is the important part.
Yeah. We've done so much. This all comes down to that self-development work to really understand each other in this relationship. And like a lot of the stuff too, like it's just not worth being so angry over. We have so much going on, and a lot of the things that come up usually when we have disagreements and arguments, actually, because we don't really have lots of disagreements and arguments, but it's usually when we're either hungry, tired,
oh my God,
or
huge.
What's the other one? Hungry, tired,
hungry, angry, lonely, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Is like a famous one. I think for us, the two of us,
oh my gosh,
it's definitely hungry. Yes. Like we both realize, because I'll be like pissed off, like hurry up.
Yes.
And it's because I'm freaking hungry and I want to get to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Or hurry up to bed because I'm tired and I want to go to sleep. Yeah. And you're like cutting into my sleep.
Yeah.
Or
we just know how to talk things through, and I think like that's
it's communication.
It's literally communication.
It's not making assumptions of what you think the other person thinks.
Yes.
And playing this story in your head, and that's not just with your significant other. That's looking at anybody.
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm feeling this way because I think this, and 95% of the time you realize what you think that person thinks is not what they're thinking.
Right. Right. Like neither of us would never like storm out of a room or ignore the other one for like a full day or something, like all these things that you see in like shows and movies where people just act like. It's like, we don't do that because we have a mutual respect for each other. We both have the same goal, right? We both have the same goal with most things. We're just looking at it to get to it a different way. So it's literally communication for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, babe, I know you're listening to this podcast because I know that you have a desire to change your life and accomplish big goals, right? But I also know that something has been holding you back on going after those big goals. Or maybe it's that you self-sabotage, or maybe you've set these big goals and you get really overwhelmed and you just don't go after them altogether. Well, I want to introduce you to a journal that is literally going to help you change your life and help you actually manifest and accomplish any desires or goals that you have. It's called the Maniscripting Journal, and it's the #1 selling manifestation and goal setting journal designed exclusively for empowering women just like you to up-level and change your life. Now, if you haven't seen this journal on social media already, I want to share with you that it is literally your personal guide to manifesting your dreams and unlocking your true potential. And inside its beautifully curated pages, you'll discover powerful daily journaling pages, workbooks, and exercises to help you set goals, help you plan your dreams, and manifest the life that you deserve. Plus, the one thing that I had to include, and it was a non-negotiable with this journal, is that it needed to have a community. So you'll also have access to join an online community filled with thousands of women just like you who are on the same path using the journal. So I invite you to join me and these thousands of women who have already embraced the power of manifestation and changed their life using the Maniscripting Journal. And I also want to gift you with a special 15% off code on your first journal order by using the code Money Mindset. The code is Money Mindset. So head over to maniscripting.com today and embark on a transformative journey by ordering the journal. So go ahead, check out the show notes, empower yourself. Answer the call to getting this journal. If this is speaking to you, I want you to join us. It's time to script your dreams into reality with the Maniscripting Journal because you deserve to create and manifest a life that you're completely obsessed with. See show notes for details.
What happens when you two disagree on a business-related issue? How do you two negotiate? Again, I think it just comes down to communication. If we ever disagree on things, like we just keep talking it out, like we don't like fight. It's more just like we talk it to death until we figure out which would be the best solution or the best thing to do.
Yeah. Or what I'll say, and this works with us or any business partner or person you're working with in business, is like, I think this, I think this. Great. If there's no way to meet in the middle, hey, let's test this, test that.
Yeah.
You think we should do this? I think we should do that. Cool. What's the way we can see which one's better?
Yeah.
Trying to think of a recent example. Like, I really wanted to do this new email thing. You really want to go do this freaking thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you go do that. You do that. Let's reevaluate it in 4 days, and whichever one's winning, that we go that route.
Exactly.
So I think the best way to deal with a disagreement is figure out how you can test it, and so that a third party can evaluate it and say, yeah, this is the better choice.
Exactly. But also just like communication, listing out pros and cons of each, and just
let Milo pick.
Figuring it out.
That's an option.
That's an option too.
Our dog Milo. If I'm sure everyone knows
everyone knows Milo. He's right here sleeping on the couch next to us. Next question is, my husband retired a year ago to come work for me in our business. We have found in the last year that we love our business so much that we can work 24/7. How do you separate your work life together from your personal life as a couple? Do you set working hours? And that's from TK in the Sisterhood.
Well, one, congratulations for doing something that excites you that much.
Yeah.
Like, that's the answer right there. If you guys found something you like doing together, that you want to do it 24 hours a day, well, at least you know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Yeah. And honestly, we're kind of the same way. Like, it's not like we're working 24/7. We do not set working hours because we understand how energy flows. We could be in the middle of dinner or something like that, and we usually are always talking about something business or life or all of that.
But we're respectful of when someone isn't in that state.
Yes.
So like sometimes I'll come in like after the gym or on the way to the gym, and I'm like, got an idea. And Sam's like, no, like I'm not comprehending what you're saying right now.
Yeah, like I might have just
or I don't want to
or something.
I want to let's shelf that, which can at first be like really frustrating because you want your partner to listen.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Last night, like I was ready to go to sleep. I was reading my spiritual liberation book. I'm like thinking about third eyes and chakras. And Sam's asking me like, look at this Excel spreadsheet on these numbers. And I was like, normally I'm like, ding, 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 ding.
And I'm like,
normally I'm like, oh yeah, drag that. No, 2 there. 10% more, whatever. I was like, this looks like hieroglyphics to me. Like, and I like, she's like, well, it's really important. Or she's like, well, it's really important. I need to let the manufacturer know at night. So I'm like, okay, what's the fax? Okay, this. And then she wanted to keep going. Like, well, do you actually need anything else to answer tonight? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me the rest tomorrow.
Yes.
To the point of even like, when either something really important I want to go over and she's avoiding it, I make her put it on the calendar.
Yes.
And we literally, we don't do this often, maybe once a week when there's something I really want to go over and you never want to go over it. Yeah. We'll put it on your calendar so you have to meet with me about that.
Yes. So, yes. So it's really just about, again, respecting each other's energy and what we're feeling.
But I want on that one.
But also, we don't set working hours because we just like, we're constantly doing stuff throughout the day.
Yeah. And there's no judgment either. Like if it was 2:00 today and I'm just like, F it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the gym and get a massage because that is like, I'm not being productive right now anyway. Like she's not going to judge me because she's home working or vice versa. Like, cause overall, I mean, you start doing that every day. Like, but overall right now, there's not like a judgment. Like it's 2 PM on a Tuesday.
No, absolutely.
Why are you sitting outside for 3 hours reading? It's like,
no,
well, anything, tonight I might get in the zone and work till 11. So
Exactly that. Are there rules that you two have to keep the personal challenges separate from business challenges? Because you work and live together, I assume you two have a designated time away from each other to spend with your other friends. Boys' night out, girls' night out. That's from Linda's sisterhood.
I think that's two very different questions. Yes. And the first one, keep personal challenges separate from business challenges. I think we do a really good job with that. We've kind of talked about that a lot already.
Yeah. We keep them, separate unless they overlap.
Yeah. And to the point of distinguishing, like this is, hey, we're talking about our family plans or wedding plans. Like don't bring up something about manuscripting while we're talking right now.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. So no rules. We just kind of just do that.
You spend with other. I don't like anybody else. Samantha's my best friend, and I don't want to hang out.
I see. Yeah.
On part two.
You're not kidding because honestly, guys, like Mark and I do hang out 24/7. We love hanging out together 24/7. There are multiple.
Well, we like a lot of time alone. Like we might be together, but different.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading, you're on the computer.
Yeah.
Or we're at the gym, but we definitely do not work out together. I'm not a workout together kind of person.
Yeah, we'll do our own thing. But I'm answering this question of, do you need boys' night out, girls' night out? No, like we don't need that. Like
we do it once in a while. But we've gone on trips. You have your retreats. I went to Europe last year for a thing, but
there's never this drive from me, and I think it's for you as well. Like it's like I don't need my girls' night out to let off steam or to get away from Mark or take a break from Mark. I've never felt that way. And it's really cool to say. And there's even like weekends where we'll be home all weekends and people want to go out and stuff. And we're just like, no, we're going to stay home and hang out together with Milo and do our own thing. So it's really cool to be in a relationship where literally they're your best friend and you just want to hang out with them all the time. And not to the point where you cannot live without hanging out with them, but you just enjoy it so much because the conversations that you have or the things that you do together, like I wholeheartedly really love hanging out with Mark. He's so much fun. How do you guys not annoy each other by being around each other a lot? Or do you? LOL.
That follows up good from the last one. But one thing from the last question, no, the great part is I feel like when you're finally in a great relationship, you don't need that go blow off steam with the boys and I think we both also sometimes get more reinvigorated from doing certain things ourselves. Like the rare time we want to go take Milo on a walk by ourselves, which is rare, very, very rare.
Very, very rare.
And it's probably that once a month time when maybe we're annoyed by the other person, but I think that's probably just an overload of people.
Yes.
And it's not that. I think I've learned also it's the very rare time Samantha doesn't want to be around me. Not that she doesn't want to be around me. It's because she's had calls and on the phone and it's she just wants
I just need to decompress.
Silence. I think that's the only time I know, even for me, it's I don't have anything against you. I just don't want to talk to anybody.
Exactly. It's us pouring back into ourselves. So when we come back together, we aren't looking for that in the other person. So I think we do a really great job about that too.
I know you sometimes. Don't lie.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. But I know you too.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny. I feel like it's those times where one of us is just like so deep in work and the other one comes over and it's just like wanting to talk, wanting to do something. And we're just like, oh my gosh, like, no, like I'm really focused right now. Like, leave me alone. But the other person's just like, I don't know, being funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, all the previous questions, we are in very different flow states. And it's just like saying it very thing. Like, I think it was maybe yesterday, you were tired in the morning. You went to the gym. You came home at like 4, just like, la-di-da-di-da, playing music. Like, not, and I'm like locked in. And I'm just like, do not talk to me till I leave this room.
Yes.
And she respects that. And she's out there being like la-di-da-di-da, FaceTiming someone, playing music. And then vice versa is all the time. So again, it's communication and boundaries and not getting feelings hurt. Wow, that's Samantha's feelings were going to get hurt. Let's see if I see other people. Oh, Samantha's home. I haven't seen her in 2 hours. I should like pretend to be happy and feed into her energy. And secretly I'm resentful because now I'm like out of this flow state I was in and my project's off. No, like her feelings aren't hurt that I did that and vice versa. So I think it's just that overall overarching theme of say what you feel.
Yeah.
And not try and do anything other than that.
Yeah, and not take anything super personal.
Yeah.
What is your advice to working with your significant other? Would you advise to work together or not, especially if you are not married yet? It's an anonymous. Or that's from the TK and the Sisterhood community. I had a previous boyfriend in the past that I worked with. And I mean, I'm obviously not with that person now, so it didn't work out. But what I did notice in that relationship, and I think because I was very young, I hadn't had the mindset or the self-development work that I have like today, but that relationship very quickly turned into a business partnership and the spark was completely lost. And it just turned into that. And it wasn't a relationship, wasn't in love with that person no longer. It was just strictly business. And I feel like we stayed together as long as we did because of business, not because of the actual relationship. Now with Mark being in my business, it's so different because of how we established it, how we established our relationship. It depends on working together or not. And as far as the not married yet goes, gosh, we just knew from such a quick early start in our relationship that like we were going to be together, even though we didn't know, but we like knew. Then I just didn't have any worries about it. And I just went for it. And then say if we did break up or whatever, like we'd figure it out, like, but I had been in that situation before in a relationship that was a business partnership that I kind of knew what to look for. And I even told Mark this as we went into business together. I was like, hey, I've done this before. And I was kind of hesitant, but I knew I was like, I've done this before. This is what happened. We can't let this happen. And if it does start happening, then you need to step out of the business with Maniscripting if that was to go down, because I'd rather have you as my life partner versus a business partner, because that role as a business partner could be filled by somebody else if needed.
Totally. The working together part can be very hard. I've seen it in a ton of men, especially when the woman has been the one. Like we've seen all these, women who have been coaches and and the guy quits their 6-figure corporate job to like support them, and the male ego is very fragile, or female ego. So like when you're kind of more the one behind the scenes, that's like for me especially, I've always been the opposite side, the leader, and still am in certain things. Like I've had enough of those other things where it was, and I believe so much in what we're doing or you're doing that it was fine. And we've had conversations about that. And I've even said I'm probably going to one day flip a switch where like I had this new thing and then I need to replace myself with 90% of what I do. And I'm just an advisor to Maniscripting and I now have the urge. So it's like doing something together and it's your co-created things. Well, especially if I'll get to that in a second. I mean, if you're already married and you're co-creating something together and one person's ego may not be hit. If it's someone else kind of leaning into someone else's business, you're behind the scenes, like having a conversation about that, whether it's the male or the female or male, whatever whatever. The power couple just knowing that if the person is the one that's behind the scenes person and having like conversations around that.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're not married yet and like working together, I would say I was in it to risk it. Like if I wouldn't think I was gonna be with Samantha forever and I was gonna start helping her the way I did in the beginning, I would have contractually made her give me minimum like 25% of the company, probably 49%
I think
of the
we
company.
did joke about that.
I think I like joked. I think I have a text message somewhere. I screenshot it just in case.
Oh, yeah.
Put it contractually. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like if you're not married and you're gonna go into business together, make an LLC just like you would with your friend or anybody else. Like if manuscript is the only thing I was doing at the time and I was going to like work for her full time from day one, then I probably, even though I was in love with you and wanted to be with you forever, I still would have probably had to put an LLC together.
And I think with having Mark coming into my business, I would never want to have like ever demasculinated him. Like I always still wanted him to have his own thing. I never wanted him to feel like I still don't feel like you're working for me. We're working together in this company, but I would never want to put him in a position where it's like, oh, like, I don't know, I'm retiring my husband or anything like that. I still want him to have his companies, do his.
I mean, you can retire me. My ego's okay with that.
Oh my gosh. No, but it's okay. But
I know
you wouldn't feel that way. But, you know, when he's a big visionary. He has lots of ideas. So there will be a day again. And even though he has other companies right now where you'll launch that next product business idea. And I can't wait for that as well. But right now, like his skill set is exactly what we need in manuscripting. And until we can find someone else to come replace him, then he's in it. But right now it's just working and it's working really great. With all the hard work and success, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is Instagram Anonymous. I can't even look at what's going to happen in the next year, even the next 6 months, because our lives over the last 3 years have been just insane. From even a year or two ago, we are now sitting here in Austin, Texas. 6 months ago, we're living in Marina Del Rey, California, where we decided literally in a spontaneous decision to move to Austin, Texas. Not knowing anyone here, not even knowing the city. We literally flew here to see the house once and here we are. But we just made that decision. We got to get out. Let's move. And we ended up here.
Abundance. That's just the answer.
It's literally just abundance. How about you? Like,
yeah, I think that too. Like I used to love kind of like really setting long-term goals. And in a way you kind of should, because you have to do the math backwards to make them work. But I've been finding recently that setting like in 5 years, I'm going to have this much money and this. And you're reading this, it's 5 years. It's so far away. It's like when you say, you know, this quarter in the next 30 days, by the end of this year, I'm going to blank, or I'm so happy and grateful that by, you know, and this year we did this and I did that. And you're reading, you're like, that's soon. Like, I got to take action on that today. If I'm like, oh, in 5 years, I'm on a yacht in a beach in Greece and life is good. And I just check in with work for 2 hours every day. And there's like 6 businesses. They all make a lot of money and then just cash flowing and I'm happy and I'm shining light and love. That's where I'm in 5 years. It came out naturally.
Yes. Yeah, literally. But to get to that, first of all, we know if you're in the manuscripting community, we know that when it comes to manifesting your goals and desires, which means just bringing those desires to fruition, when you look that far out in advance, you can say all those things, but guess what your subconscious and your mindset is saying? It's so fucking overwhelmed. It's like, okay, cool. Being on a yacht and an island, whatever, that's awesome. But then it's like, there's a huge disconnect because it's like, holy crap, like how the hell do I get there? So we really focus on, we definitely have our yearly goal, which we set obviously in January, but we are checking in with that goal literally weekly, weekly, monthly, quarterly to stay on track to hit those goals. And then with those goals, they obviously just like make those big other goals automatically start happening because of these ones. So even though like we daydream about the 5 years out, but it is literally the action that we take on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis that gets us there. And that's how we are so successful. And that's how the Manuscripting Journal Company is scaling so quickly, is because we're hyper focused on those things. and also taking action and alignment with those things, which is bringing all the things that we want. One last quick question. And now this one kind of goes into another topic. So I feel like there's definitely going to be a part two of this. So I almost don't even want to dive into this, but I want to leave you guys with a little bit of this about how did you start, market, and build your business? And this is from Michelle M. in the Sisterhood community. Go back and listen to like one of the first episodes on the Money Mindset Manicures podcast. Market it. I used Instagram and Facebook. Instagram and Facebook, I started with tapping into my own personal community, built an Instagram page, built a Facebook group, and literally just started pouring content into there. That was the beginning of it. And that's literally what's helped it grow today. That's all I'm going to mention on that because
that's a 3-part series.
I know we're going to do. Yeah. So if you have more questions on this,
more detailed questions on starting, marketing, and building your business is probably where we would end it.
Yes.
Because you can spend forever, but here's how do you start, market, and build your business? Here's the answer. And we're in the podcast with this. You start it.
Yeah.
You start.
Yeah.
Like everyone is waiting to be perfect or waiting to whatever. Like how you start it, and I'm not going to steal it. It's probably another podcast. Was all right. What's the bare minimum I'm going to do to make this work? Whether it's a trinket, a course, an idea. You definitely don't need followers already. Like I have started in my life more businesses in a night. Because I got a stick up my ass. I got an idea. I went on Shopify. I made a Shopify page. I created an Instagram account. I created a Facebook account. I created a Klaviyo account and just hit live in a night. Same. And I know Samantha's done that. So like and that could be even easier. It's like you have this idea. It's a PDF or I want to be a coach or like whatever. How do you start, marketing, and build your business? You start.
Yeah.
So that's actually, we don't even need to do it. There's your podcast right there. You start. Because if you don't start, you can't do any of those things.
Yeah. We all get caught up in this. Oh, what's the plan? Oh, I have to do this, X, Y, and Z. And all of that, it just stalls you on actually putting it out there into the world. So just taking that action, starting the next thing. Thank you all for your questions. That was the last question. Please let us know what other questions you have, what other things you want to learn from us. We will be more than happy to do more episodes because this is so much fun because you're my best friend. Thank you for being here, babe.
Happily, anytime.
Aww. And if you love this episode, please take a few seconds to leave a review. I would be so grateful. This helps get the podcast out into the algorithm to help other women come across it and find this valuable information. If you loved it, please take a screenshot, post on Instagram, and tag I am Samantha Gazuch. Mark, what is your Instagram, Mark?
We'll put it in the Mark something. Mark underscore.
Mark underscore. We'll put it in the show notes. Go follow Mark. And you can also reach us at Money Mindset and Manicures on Instagram. So thank you again so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.